Hello.
Well, hello, love.
I changed the number of days, but I forgot what it was.
Oh, like we've been here less time?
No. What?
You just said
I got stuff in my
you
teeth.
changed the days. Like
That's embarrassing.
I
I just smiled and I had a big piece of lemon pepper in my teeth. Well, there's a reflection. What did you say?
I'm just sorry. I mean, silly. You said you changed the number of days, and I was like, oh, like we've been here less time?
No. I have my little counter and I change it right before we do the videos.
Been here 1 million days.
I left my really nice, smaller purple Yeti cup in Albert's car, and I don't have the heart to ask him to bring it to me because we've kind of already said goodbye.
I hope he uses it.
He'll find it in his passenger side door in like a while.
Like that crazy American lady.
I had this one, but the other one was smaller.
So yesterday was
But
180.
you have to say, oh, okay.
So
Today's day 181 of our
181.
videos.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got this email from work saying I need to recertify my ACLS, which I do every 2 years. I can do that online. I have to pay for it this time, though, because I'm not full-time anymore.
Man, lover.
What?
Why'd you do that?
Why'd I do what?
You got to pay for it now.
I know. I'm not
So,
full-time employee anymore.
Today is the 137th day in Liberia, and tomorrow is our last full day in Liberia. We've been here for that amount of time trying to adopt.
What are we at? 130 what?
Tomorrow will be...
Today's 137, tomorrow's 138.
Yeah.
So Monday's 139, so Tuesday 140. So 140 days
In Africa.
away from 140 days away from the U.S.
So we are still attempting to adopt 2 little girls from Liberia. We have to go home though. We said our goodbyes yesterday. Our last goodbyes for a while, for a lot longer for me probably, because you'll have to come back by yourself.
I'm excited to come back. I think I've decided, we've talked about this a lot. I think I've decided I'm just going to come back in 3 months, even if it's just for like a week or 10 days, and just, because I'm staying PRN at my job. Jeremy's going to resume full-time work hopefully pretty soon.
Yeah.
I'm going to teach some swimming lessons too while I'm home, just because it gives me joy.
Do you think I can make a video every day for them when you guys, before you leave?
Yeah.
Can I be that guy?
Yeah, you can, but I mean, you'll be able to talk to me.
I know.
Like while I'm here. That would be sweet though.
Hopefully that's just a visit that we're gonna bring them home.
Yeah. We're not very optimistic, but we're hopeful. I mean, out of hope. You know, God bless Nelson and Pauline.
Today
like
was
they
kind of
are.
like a.
We should have. That's one of my only regrets, and it's kind of not plausible just because they are very busy. They have 30 kids literally that they're raising, and a lot going on. And they were about an hour from where we're staying. They're close to the airport, but those kids are so encouraging.
We gotta tell them what we did today.
We went to visit Nelson today,
We had to
and
play Secret Santa. Kind of.
Secret Santa.
Well, it's not really a
Do you
secret.
understand what Secret Santa is?
We brought gifts, and they gave us gifts
Well,
too.
we didn't bring them as much gifts. We brought them a lot of things that we can't take home that we used here, or that we were planning on using here. Like our kids, our Liberian kids, we brought their homeschool books, and they're heavy to take home, their workbooks, and so I just left them there for them. They're in school, but it's still enrichment. And then we have matching outfits now.
Well, if you don't know, Nelson and Pauline, they run an orphanage here in Liberia called, we call it HOBI House, but it's House of Blessing International.
Hope of Blessing
Hope
International.
Of Blessing, sorry. And they have probably 30 kids, I guess.
They have 30 kids.
And it's such a blessing to go visit them, because they always do the kids did a service for us today. They sang when we walked in. They gave a quick sermon, read some scriptures. It was just really touching.
Well, what they did is more of a presentation for us. And I forget the words he used. Show him what you got.
Yeah,
I'm sure Pauline sewed this.
Pauline, I think, made this.
Jeremy
for
got
us.
him a Liberian shirt. You might have to get back on the treadmill for it to be loose, but it did go on. Mine's a little snug, but I think just maybe 10 pounds it'll fit.
Yeah.
But yeah, just traditional African shirt.
Very excited. I told him like a long time ago I wanted
It's really,
one of these.
really like heavy duty, nice.
I wanted something like this
Looks
to wear
nice.
like in my official meetings with people. I thought it would be like kind of a sign of respect going into like a meeting with a government official wearing something official. But I never got a chance. But I don't know they would have helped. But
I really hope you guys send some Venmo to Hope of Blessing International HOBI. It's on our description at HOBI Kids. Venmo at HOBI Kids. It's tax deductible Venmo donation. So the kids, the younger kids stood up and said the books of the Bible. The older kids led some singing and some prayer. And then 2 or 3 of the older kids gave like a remarks, they called it, about, and they spoke from the heart. They had notes, but we could tell that they prepared, that they apologized for the treatment of our family in Liberia. They apologized for the way their country has treated us. They apologized for the injustices that are happening to our kids. They said, please don't give up, because the children that you're adopting are like us, and children like us that are orphans in Liberia deserve better, and they need families and they need a future. Please don't give up. Please come back. Please don't give up. And it just, like when you hear that from young women that are like ages 14 to 18, that are just, like the leader, Pinky, was the one that led most of the presentation that they did for us in the meeting, basically. And they honored us in that, and they were grateful to us. There's things we've done to try to help them since we've been here. I wish we would have gotten to spend more time with them, because they're a boost. But they're busy. We were busy as well. But and every time we needed something, Nelson took care of it. Even when we go to the airport, if for some reason we can't if something happens, like the car breaks down or anything that happens, Nelson's going to be there to help us. And Nelson gave his own remarks at the end and got to be tearful, like barely could talk, tearful. And Nelson's an extroverted guy. He's a confident guy. He's a hopeful guy. He does not like the injustices that we're seeing for our kids. But him and his wife, the encouragement that they gave us to just press on, and that no matter what, that God is sovereign here. And evil exists and free will exists, and the bickering and the political conflicts that keep happening, and the finger pointing and the nobody knows the problem, but there's a problem kind of stuff that keeps on going on. This is something that we're just going to have to endure. We're going to do our best to put legal pressure as much as we can. We're going to do our best to rally our Congress, to rally our political leaders that we know, and just continue to be present. We're not going anywhere. They're talked about contacting radios, contacting news people in Liberia to try to get some light on this situation. Nelson says, he's been in contact with our orphanage director, trying to encourage him to, defend the kids. And that's one thing Nelson said, is he said, he runs an orphanage. He has a license to run an orphanage, but the government doesn't give him anything. He has to go through all these accreditations so that he can run as a nonprofit, so that in the U.S. it counts as a nonprofit. So he has to jump through some licensure hoops. But, sometimes they'll promise money. The government here will promise people like Nelson, like a stipend or some type of funding to help with children that they're pulling from the streets. But they never follow through. Nelson's like, they asked me to take certain children, and I did, and they promised funding and support, and they never gave it. Years later, Nelson's still caring for the kids, holding up his end. But the government just lied to him to get him to do something. And the thing is Liberia's poor. I get it. But they do have funding coming in for specific programs from other countries, other organizations like UNICEF, the UN, the United States. The nonprofit sector, the private nonprofit sector, pours money in to this place. And, I would hope that the private nonprofit sector has accountability for their funding. But the government doesn't have any transparency on their budget or any transparency on their spending. So it's frustrating to see, because they continue to impose these regulations, and they're putting the money somewhere, but they're not putting it where it was designed to go. And that's what we call stealing. But to listen to those teenage girls, I'm like, Pinky for president, like when they speak from the heart, and not just her, Dorcas, I mean, like many of those children, they speak from the heart, and they're hugging us as we leave. But I had an interesting conversation with Pinky, one of the older children there. She's mature. And I said, Pinky, you know I'm going to come back in about 3 months. If there's anything I could bring you from America that would fit in my suitcase, what would it be? And she just smiled. And I was like, truly, like, is there anything that's in America that you can't get here that you're just like, I really wish that I had that? You know, something small. And she asked for a language arts book. Not like a storybook, but like a textbook on language arts, so that she can better herself in her education, learning how to communicate more effectively and understand English better, language. And she's they speak great English, but she wants to deepen her understanding of the language arts. And all I could think was, she's going to be in charge of something in Liberia great, because she's smart and she's trying to learn at 18. I think she's 17, 18.
Actually, I think she's 19. How
to communicate best with people, her ideas, and how to understand their ideas best, because that's what language arts is. And it is an art to communicate. But I thought that maturity, I mean, she could ask for anything, you know? Anything. Mm-hmm. The first thing I thought she'd ask for would be a smartphone, like an iPhone or something, because that's like, you can get, if you guys, I'll try to bring as many as I can back, but a smartphone here changes the lives of these people.
Yep.
So, but just the ability to communicate at any time with anyone that you need to communicate with WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger or whatever. So I really, but I just appreciated that maturity. It was a really huge boost to just be around such good kids that had a rough start, and they're not, and it's rough for them now. There's 30 kids living in the same place.
Yeah, but the level of maturity you touched on earlier, and then the maturity and the respect they had for us, like they call us Uncle Jeremy and Auntie
Rachel, yeah.
As we walk in, it's just,
and that's a sign of respect.
Yeah. But also, like, we're part of their family too, I think.
Yes, just, and they grieved it with us. They cried with us. They get it.
And they used our Liberian daughters and by name.
By name.
They know
prayed
them.
For them by name.
It was just touching. It was good. They asked me to say a few words, and I kind of just talked on how they really were going through a sad time, and how being here really helped us and cheered us up. Mm-hmm. And I think they understand. I speak pretty much hillbilly Southern, so
I think they understood.
Hopefully they.
And that's just a testament of how much Nelson has talked to them about, this is what our government's doing. This is why we need good leadership. This is why we need to vote. This is the situation that we're seeing. And in 10 years, 15 years, these children will be leaders in government, and they will see what needs to happen.
Yeah.
And they will do it because they know. And Sela Godfrey, who lives in the U.S., who was born in Liberia, who is the owner and sponsor of this nonprofit for these kids, who's also in the adoption process with us, with the same orphanage, where her daughter waits. She's coming at the end of July she has several meetings planned. She's coming to check on her nonprofit, which she does at least every other year. She's coming to try to meet with some bigger people, tell her own story, and try to get people to understand that adoption to the U.S. is a pathway to peace for Liberia. Because most of these kids that do get adopted and grow into adulthood give back to Liberia. They just do. And that is a difficult thing to do. If you're born as a war orphan and everything's taken from you, and your life is so hard, and you finally get adopted as a teenager to go to the U.S. by some miracle. But even then, back then, the way they did adoptions was messy. It's messy now, but it was way messier then, and had a lot of problems, But yet, she still supports the U.S. and supports Liberia, not just with her words and her prayers, but with her actions, with her physical actions. She's talking about if she's just going to have to move here and do a domestic adoption and just live here for a couple of years so she can get her daughter away from orphanhood.
That's funny. One of the probably the most common answer I get from young adults that we tell them that we're adopting is they'll say, I know they're probably partly joking, but they say, "I wish you could adopt me."
Adopt me.
And
Could
I'm
you
like,
adopt me?
And I'm like, well, that's different.
Especially if they grew up here, because it's so
grown-up.
hard for them.
But I'm like, well, that seems to be the common thinking, is they want to, obviously come to America and have an opportunity. Because there's just not a lot of that here, so.
They just want to not be hungry, most of them. But Nelson's kids are not hungry, and they are thinking towards the future. Like, asking for a language arts textbook is just so mature. Like, to put tools in my toolbox kind of thing. Of all the things to ask for, that it struck me. And certainly I'll get it for her. I'll probably try to find one to send with Sela. But it's just, it was such an encouraging way to leave Liberia, and definitely a good last taste. So tomorrow we're going to hang out here at the hotel, go to bed early. Emmanuel will be here to pick us up. I told him I want to leave at 5, which means he probably will leave his house at 4, and he lives 10 minutes away. And he will be camping out.
What he said he would be.
He was taking a car to wash it.
I asked him, I said, how many alarms do you set to get up? And he was like, I don't. I'm like, well, does your body just know?
No, he sets at least one. He maybe didn't understand.
Maybe he didn't.
He's got that phone, the smartphone that he got, that we gave him when I came back from America. Oh my goodness, that was great. That was almost worth flying home for all by itself, just to see. And he has us as his screensaver background. It's like him and his family, his youngest daughter, and us, like, on his screensaver.
That's awesome.
Yeah. He also has a side hustle, provisions. He calls it a provision store. It's like a market, like a corner market, where he sells like food and supplies, toiletries, Coke. He likes Coke. Out of his house, and then he's going to open a market soon.
My last thing about HOBI was, I was thinking before we left, I was like, it's going to be hard. It's another goodbye. But what was different about this goodbye versus going to Small World, I feel like Small World was it pulled from us a lot emotionally. But,
yeah, and those kids are all in crisis in a way that...
Yeah, but I think this goodbye,
these kids aren't in.
HOBI was refreshing and recharging for us. I think that's how, which was such a pleasant surprise.
And you'll never understand the difference unless you see it and feel it in hanging out with kids that have permanence and hanging out with kids that don't have permanence. We remember this with our fosters.
Isn't that crazy? It's that one difference. It's so huge.
It's a huge difference, knowing the permanence part. It's just different. Like, when our American kids are running around with the kids at the HOBI orphanage, the kids pay attention to us, they talk to us, but they're not starved for attention. They're not hanging all over us. They're not constantly, like, just wanting to be close to us the way that the Small World kids are. These kids are well-balanced. Emotional needs are met. There's a bunch of them, so I don't know how they meet all their needs. I think the youngest are like 5 and 6. There's a baby. There's one baby that Nelson has, a biological baby that's almost 1. But other than that, the kids are like 5 and up, 6 and up ish. That's what they look like. But they're balanced. They play with each other. They see us. They hug us. They like us. They talk to us. But then they move on to do. They're confident kids. And when you go to the Small World home, it's just, they're living in a world of uncertainty that can't be prevented. They just can't be prevented. The only way that the Small World orphanage home even stays open is adoptions. Yeah. It's the only way it can get funding. There's no way to get funding. The reason the HOBI house has funding is Sela. Sela makes sure that they have what they need. And they're doing Fill the Box to help with that. They're doing a lot of things. But they have all these things going, and she works hard to get it done. And I talked to her today, but those kids know for sure that they're going to get, that Sela's not, she's the last line of defense. And then they have businesses that they do. They have side hustles that they do. Even Nelson was telling me his dog is going to have puppies, but he's going to sell them this time because he has and his cat just had kittens, and they want those there. I think he let our girls name the kittens. Tiger, Garfield, and Pete the cat. Remember the book? Pete the cat. Groovy. So
they got our kids got to see kittens and chickens today. That was fun.
And dogs all playing together.
Yeah.
Our youngest 8-year-old daughter, she was chasing the chickens. I'm like, what are you gonna do when you catch it? She's like, I don't know. And she'd get really close to catching it, and then she'd freak out. So one of the the children that lived there caught the chicken for her and brought it to her, and she like wouldn't touch it. She chased it for like 45 minutes, like she was gonna catch it, like it would conquer it, and then she just kept getting close again. So they helped her. You know, this little girl, probably about Lexi's size, helped her and brought it to her, and Lexi was like, it was so funny. They were laughing at her. Like, it was just a joyous time to hang out with them.
For sure.
And that's what, like, people like that, leadership like that is hard to find here. But those kids are going to grow up to be kids that are leaders here. And that's what Liberia needs. And they're right when they say you're adopting kids like us, and kids like us don't deserve what's happened. That's what they say. They didn't really place blame on anybody, but they see the solution, and they don't, they get it. And so they're gonna fight for those kind of people when they're in charge of the MOG, when they're in charge of the Ministry of Justice, police headquarters, all of that. They're gonna do what's right, and I have hope in that. So on the flip side of that, the morning didn't start off great. So I've been trying to rebook our A-Sky ticket. So A-Sky, I bought 5 round trip tickets from A-Sky, which was my first mistake. I should have done all one ways, just one way everything. But I didn't. I did round trip because you can change them once without a fee. Well, we had 5 round trip tickets. So my ticket, I changed from March the 5th to April 23rd. I flew home on April 23rd. And then I just bought a one-way ticket back. So it was just, I used the end of my round trip ticket and then bought a one-way ticket back. It was very easy. And it took me a minute I tried to do a WhatsApp contact with the call center, and that didn't work. They just weren't responsive. And so I emailed customer service, and they immediately fixed it for me and apologized for it taking 24 hours. It was like a 36-hour project, over the course of 36 hours. So I'm like, oh, great. So when we were thinking about going home, I was like, well, all I have to do is email them to change Jeremy and the girls' tickets. And then all I have to do is buy my one-way ticket again, which will be $300, $320 or something when I looked at it. When I looked at it 4 days ago, it was still $320. Well, when I looked at it 3 days ago, it was $370. So I was like, we should go on and get this done. And then when I looked at it on today, or yesterday, it was still in the threes, and then today it was like $421. But I was trying to email them for the last 72 hours, and I couldn't get anybody to talk to me. I finally emailed their home office in Lome, Togum, and this guy saw my email as he was leaving his office at like 6 p.m. And so he emailed me back and gave me a phone number, and he said, "Hi, I'm leaving the office. I'm on my way home from work. It'll take me some time to get home, but I'll call you when I get home to try to help you." I guess it was just a desperate plea email. Well, he did call me, but he didn't have the ability to do my ticketing from his home. Or he just works at the home office, but the ticketing department was closed. So he's like, you're going to have to call the ticketing department in Liberia. They're going to be able to best help you, or the call center. So I called the call center, still didn't get any help. Finally, the call center replied at like 3 p.m., which we'd long fixed our problem before then. I've just ignored them. I'm going to give them a very bad review. But it won't matter. So get this. So I'm trying to change these tickets, right? So instead of A-Sky just helping me, because I bought them online, they sent me this travel agent. Now, this guy, the home office guy that emailed me back, I'm going to give him the Walmart Customer Service Award from the 90s. Walmart in the 90s, if you approached a customer, what did they say? You worked there. If you work at Walmart. So you're the stock boy and you work at Walmart, right? You're wearing the badge and everything. What if you see somebody walking around and they need something? You
were supposed to actually walk them to the product.
So they're like, Jeremy, I need diapers. And you're like, I'm a stock boy, but hey, let me go. I know where the diapers are. Let me go. We're going to find it together. We're not going to stop until we're there together. And we have to find more people along with us. We'll all go together. Yep. This guy, Walmart customers, he kept checking back in with me. And when we finally got our tickets. But the only option I had cost me $1,000. I even considered, because we had a drive to downtown Monrovia.
It's $1,371 actually.
Well, no, the $371 was my ticket one way, so it's really $1,000 extra that I did not anticipate, right?
I feel like yours was over $500.
No, but I planned on paying $375 for a one way ticket. Instead, I paid $1,371. So my my expectation miss was $1,000. This is the $1,000 loss. But get this. I was willing to pay an extra $800 on top of that. So I was willing to pay $2,170 to not drive downtown Monrovia on the day that I need to pack. Because I needed to pack today because I needed to sort out what we were taking, what we were keeping, so I could give Nelson all the stuff that we're not taking because I don't want it to go to waste, and I know he needs it and he'll use it. Like we had extra shoes, extra clothes, extra toys. Like I talked my oldest daughter out of her crappy Legos. Well, they're not that crappy. She's been playing with them for 2 months now. 3 months. Gosh. March was her birthday. But I was like, I will order you your favorite Lego set that you've been wanting forever right now, and it'll meet us in Aunt Devin's house if you do not make me carry this through the airport. And she was like, let's see what we got. So we looked and we looked. And I really just, her birthday was here. And when by the time we figured out where the Orca Deco was, her birthday had passed. So we were like shopping for her birthday at the China Mall. But when we found Orca Deco, their presents are better. So our other daughter kind of had better. It was just a whole thing. I just felt like she needed an equal out thing. So, but I couldn't buy it online and skip driving to downtown Monrovia because they wouldn't take my payment. I could make a reservation. And then, so the options are you make your reservation and then you have to go to a ticketing agent. And the only person in the whole country of Liberia that sells A-Sky tickets is Daniel of Indian descent in Sincor, downtown Monrovia.
So
I want you to know that I looked at Jeremy and I was like, I worked on this from 9 a.m. to 11:15. And I looked at Jeremy at 11:20 after he'd had a cup of coffee and said, we have a problem. He even came and sat next to me on the couch. The girls weren't up yet at like 10. Like I woke up at 9. He got up at 9:45, 10. Sat down, had his little instant like powdered coffee instant mix, and he's just sitting there, you know. He's like, oh, it's like we're having breakfast together. We're just sitting on the couch, you know, kids aren't up yet. And I'm like, we have a problem. So at 11:15, I'm like, you gotta drive downtown Monrovia. There's no other way to get us out of this country as planned. I've already got the Airbnb. I've already talked to Delta, which was a whole nother argument, but I won. And this part of these like arguments are like Rachel speak of like, I'm going to get a good deal. I'm not trying to get anyone to give me anything, but I am trying to get the cheapest way possible. That's the safest for my family. Right. So I look at Jeremy. I'm like, I can't. Even if I get in the car and drive down to downtown Monrovia, number one, no one's going to be packing. And we're going to Nelson's. We're supposed to leave at 3. We ended up leaving at 4. We pushed it back a little bit. Because I am going to take this little Indian man's head and rip it off of his shoulders. And then I'm going to throw it in the streets of Liberia and see if the police come and get me. Because I'm that mad over it. And then he wanted me to send him on WhatsApp our passport information. I'm like, WhatsApp literally is like the biggest advertising. Like they know everything. Like I immediately am getting emails from companies I've never heard of because of somebody texting me something on WhatsApp. So Jeremy.
Thanks, Meta.
So our dad, Nelson, and our
uncle
Emmanuel.
I can't get a hold of Emmanuel because he's normally out of data minutes. So I can't WhatsApp him. I can't call him directly. So I had to go call Nelson to call Emmanuel to come and get me.
Well, local phone Emmanuel still has, but his smartphone he has to put minutes on it. So he doesn't always have, if he thinks we need him, he will, but.
So finally he got.
He wasn't planning on seeing us until.
No, he wasn't. Nelson got a hold of him and he got here.
Oh. So 11:15 I tell Jeremy this problem, right?
Yeah.
And the office closes at 1. And I know that you guys, if you watch our videos, you know how far we have to drive for anything. And there's nothing you can get done quickly in Liberia. So how did it all set up? And Jeremy has to take the passports with him.
So Emmanuel
gets a hold of Emmanuel by calling Nelson, who calls Emmanuel on his local number. And then
Emmanuel knows we're on a time crunch. And thankfully there wasn't a lot of traffic because it was Saturday midday.
Sometimes traffic is awful.
But it wasn't bad. But I mean, it was still like he was going. It was like horns honking because he was like, I can't. And I had my map because the guy had sent us like the GPS address, not an address, but like
he dropped a pin. Just dropped a pin
so I had that in my Google Maps. I'm like, I need to go here. And I have it on.
Emmanuel's never seen Google Maps.
Nobody uses Google Maps here. So
Well, Nelson says it's wildly inaccurate.
We're going downtown Monrovia, and there's like a travel agent that we go by, and Emmanuel's just dying to pull in. He's like, "This is it, right?" I'm looking at my map, like, "No, we have another."
And luckily, it's working.
We have another 2 miles. And he's like, he's nervous. He's like, "Okay, let's go." And I didn't see Ace guy.
Emmanuel's like, "No, we got travel agent right here.
My guy's not here, right?" So then we go to another one that's not the one we need. We're not there yet. We're like.
But Emmanuel knows it's a travel agent.
0.8 miles, and I'm like, it doesn't say Ace Guy anywhere on the signs.
But what's funny is Emmanuel knows where everything is. He's a professional driver. He's driven for years. He knows where everything is. And he's never heard of the place that Jeremy wants him to go to, and this bothers him to his core.
Like, Emmanuel, we just got to go to this spot because I know the guy's there. We've talked to him. He's waiting on me. Because as soon as I walked in, when we got there, he said, "Hello, Mr. Smith."
He thought he was chatting with you because I pretend like I'm Jeremy on chats.
So we go to the spot, and I'm like,
get more respect.
I see it coming up, and I'm like, "Emmanuel, slow down." And we look over to the left, and sure enough, there's another. He's like,
Emmanuel should have been a rocket ship driver.
Man, it's so smart. How did it know? He was blown away.
Oh, Emmanuel's so nice. I'm gonna miss him so much. He's like, okay, but I'm sure it's like he feels like he's torn. It's like he's having this dad moment of like,
yeah.
I'm trying to take care of you.
You're passing too, but then with the third one, said Ace guy. And I'm like,
but he didn't know of another travel agent downtown. He didn't argue with you, but you could see it, like the sweat on his brow,
like, Bro,
his little vein here.
I was like, Emmanuel, we got to go a little bit further. It's right up here, I promise. Let's go.
And he knew the time constraints. So Jeremy was waiting in the parking lot for him. He's like, let's go. I think he could have been like a pilot in like dogfighting, like Top Gun type thing, because he's so. And it's not that he drives so fast that you're nervous. Like, he's very careful. But he's also very, like, an opportunist. Like, if there's a way you can speed up for 30 yards, he's flooring it.
And past the KK?
Yes. Around, like, I mean.
Yeah. He
said today, though, I gave Nelson this car kit that I brought back from the States. That is a, it's like, I have them in my own car. Both of them. And actually, we traded in our car and to get our Yukon, we traded in a car to Carvana. And I wasn't there when they came to pick it up. But Jeremy let my it's like my cargo bag go with the van. And I was like, what happened to the red bag? You didn't get it out? He's like, what red bag? But in both of my cars, I have this red bag. And it has jumper cables. It has flares, it has a first aid kit, it has a window breaker and a seatbelt cutter. Which when I was explaining this to Nelson, I realized that I just talked Nelson into putting a seatbelt on, I feel like, on this trip. So like the seatbelt cutter may not be as important. But if someone's trapped, I was telling him like how you can beat out the windows, and then there was an ice scraper on there, and I showed it to him. I was like, I don't think you're gonna need this, but I'm gonna let you keep it. Mm-hmm. And there was like a reflective thing you could put on, like if you're changing your tires, and some cones, and there's a flashlight that I know it works. So he'll figure it out probably. I'm like, this is my gift to Savior. That's the name of his armada. Because, and Emmanuel talks about how he knows Savior, like they're close, like they're bonded. He can feel it when Savior's good. He can feel it when Savior's not good. He knows. He knows his car. So.
He was very excited about, I gave him the guitar too that we've had here. He was
and he can play it a little.
Yeah, he was very pumped. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
So it was the Ace Guy thing, the $1,371 mistake was just a lot.
Hang on.
That's all I got.
That's all I got too. Let's have a good day, and our last day tomorrow we're gonna have hot chocolate and homemade popcorn a lot.
Yep. We got all our stuff packed up. We went over and did laundry today at the laundry room. It was still this big issue, but we got through it.
It was worth it.
Yeah. I've hand washed for the last month. But it got too hard.
It's hard with a family of 5.
It's hard to pack and wash.
Unless you have a big Home Depot bucket or something. Little sink doesn't hold a lot.
It's the dry, and it's that, but it's also the space to dry it is not really great.
Yep. All right. Good night, everybody.